Hey friends, it's Nikki here with Stillwater's Wreath Designs. How are you today? We are going to make a Deco mesh based teacher appreciation wreath today. Friends, if you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome. This channel is all about things to do with wreath making, door swag making, basically all things front door decor. And new tutorials upload every single week, usually a couple of times. So if you're new to the channel and you love all things wreath making, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, I'll be sure to leave a list of materials that you'll need to recreate this if you'd like to do so in the description of this video below. All right, friends, some of the things we're going to use today will be a 15-inch work wreath form. Of course, our decorative sign that says teachers change the world one child at a time. How cute is that? We'll be using two different types of 10-inch deco mesh. We're going to use a burlap and then the black and white buffalo check. And of course, some wired ribbon varieties to throw in a bougie bow and some ribbon tails. In regards to tools, friends, you're going to need a good pair of scissors. If you would like, you'll need your self-healing mat and a rotary cutter. You'll also need your hot glue gun and some glue sticks. You'll need a couple of mounting brackets and some floral wire ties. All right, let's dive in, friends. The first thing we need to do is prep our sign. And so when I'm adding a sign into a wreath, I always utilize, or I shouldn't say always, I typically utilize what's called a mounting square or mounting bracket. These are just 1-inch by 1-inch plastic brackets. If you can see there, friends, there are actually holes on the side of this bracket all the way around, so that once you attach them to the back of your sign, you can then run some floral wire, chenille stem, or even a zip tie through there to attach that down to your wreath. And then on the back side, friends, it's just got some 3M super sticky tape that you can use to attach these guys right to the back of your sign. So I'm just going to flip my sign over, and we'll just add one mounting bracket to each side in the center, giving it a good push. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, friends. Nobody's going to see this once you get it added into your wreath. And then I always like to run a bead of glue around the perimeter of each bracket so that that glue basically is half on the bracket. Let me grab my glasses. And half on the sign to just give it a little bit of extra strength and stability. All right, so as you can see, I ran a bead of glue around the perimeter of each bracket, and now I'm just going to sit this sign off to the side to dry while we add some deco mesh into our work wreath form. All right, friends, so we've got our 15-inch wire work wreath form. So if you're new to these, they come to you just as you see it here, friends. You can actually order these from several online wreath supply retailers. I'll leave you a couple of my favorites below so you can check out their websites if you'd like. There's 2 layers, the lower and the upper. And then all along both the upper and the lower, there's a total of 18 ties. These are what we call ties, and a tie is just 2 pretty thick wired, similar to a chenille stem attachment where you can add in your deco mesh. And there are 18 in total. So go ahead and cut your tag off of your work wreath form. If your upper level chenille stems are not already pointing inwards, go ahead and point them inwards. And then the outer set of ties, just go ahead and point them outwards. Friends, for this wreath, we're going to use the CRUFFLE method. So once you've got your work wreath form prepped and ready to load, go ahead and set it off to the side. And remember, we've got 18 ties and we're using 2 different types of Deco mesh here. And I'll show you in a moment what a CRUFFLE is and how you make the CRUFFLE. But first we need to cut our Deco mesh pieces, and we're going to use these in equal amounts. And so I want you to cut 9 pieces of the burlap and 9 pieces of the black and white check at 25 inches in length. So you can use your scissors and a ruler or a tape measure to measure those out. If you are new to wreath making, friends, and you've not yet picked up a rotary cutter for your wreath making toolkit, I would definitely encourage you to do so. They're pretty cost effective. They basically work like a pizza cutter, and they'll let you cut through your Deco mesh pretty quickly at a nice, even, clean cut. So you're just going to measure out your pieces, and we are going to cut them at 25 inches in length. So I'm just going to lay that out, find my 25-inch mark, and give it a cut. So go ahead and cut your Deco mesh pieces and get them ready to go, and I'll meet you back here. Once you've got your 18 pieces of Deco mesh cut, so you should have 9 pieces of the black and white check and 9 pieces of the burlap, each one cut at 25 inches in length, go ahead and grab your work wreath form and bring it back to your workstation here. And I'm going to show you how to make a CRUFFLE, friends. They're super easy. And you're going to need, or I would recommend, I should say, some sort of a clip, a chip clip. This is just a plastic clothespin from the Dollar Tree, something to help you with your CRUFFLEs, and you'll understand what I mean by that in just a minute. So to make a CRUFFLE, friends, go ahead and grab your first piece of Deco mesh. And a CRUFFLE is a really good way to help prevent the fray. If you're new to Deco mesh loves to fray and it loves to stick to itself, and so this helps prevent the fray. And you're going to notice your cuts want to naturally curl in on themselves. And so when you lay your piece of Deco mesh onto your workspace, friends, you want it to be curl side up. And the first thing we're going to do is just lay that curl side up in your workstation, and at one end you're going to roll it in and make 2 or 3 curls. I'm going to do 2, just like that, and then use your chip clip to pinch it in the center. And the purpose of that curl, friends, is that it tucks away that cut edge to help prevent the fray. Once you've done one end, go ahead and flip your piece of Deco mesh over to the other end. Repeat that step. Just make 2 curls so that your ends are nice and tucked underneath. Then, keeping your hands stationary and your thumbs pressing down on that curl, take your fingers and just scrunch and gather, walking this Deco mesh into your thumbs, all the way to the end of this piece until you get to your clip. Once you get to your clip, you can take that clip off. You're going to pinch it right in the center, and this is what we call a CRUFFLE, friends, because you've got curls at the ends and a ruffle in the middle, giving you the CRUFFLE. We're going to start on our lower level of our work wreath form, and we're going to add 1 CRUFFLE to every single set of ties. So keeping a hold of your CRUFFLE with one hand, take your other hand and just open up a set of ties into a wide V. Then taking your CRUFFLE, keeping it pinched in your fingers, press that CRUFFLE all the way down to the center of that V, all the way to the base. And then take those ties and give them a couple of tight twists to hold that CRUFFLE in place, and keep those ties pointing outwards, friends. That'll keep them from getting tangled up. And you've just added your very first CRUFFLE. Let's do one more together. Because we're using 2 colors here, friends, I'm going to alternate back and forth between the 2. You can use the same color of Deco mesh, more colors of Deco mesh. This is really just a wreath making recipe. And so feel free to tweak it and adjust it as you would like. So again, you're going to take your single piece of deco mesh, curl side up, and at one end, just make 2 tight curls to tuck away that cut edge. Add your chip clip to the middle to hold that guy in place. Flip it around and do the exact same thing at the other end, making 2 tight curls. Then, keeping your hands stationary and your thumbs pressed down on the deco mesh, just scrunch and gather, and walk that deco mesh right into your hands here, all the way to the end. Once you get to the end, keep it pinched in the center and remove your chip clip. Move on to your very next set of ties and add that CRUFFLE right in, all the way to the base, and a couple of tight twists, and then keep those ties pointed outwards. I then just take my hands and just line them up nicely here, the 2 CRUFFLEs, so that that pretty edge is meeting up and it's not all wonky. And now we're going to move on to the next. So go ahead and add all of your CRUFFLEs into your wreath base, friends. You're just adding 1 CRUFFLE per set of ties. I'm alternating back and forth between the colors. You can certainly do it how you wish. And I'll meet you back here. So now we've added a single CRUFFLE into every single set of ties in our work wreath form, and look how beautiful that is, friends. That's probably every bit of 24 inches in diameter. I would say 8 to 10 inches thick. And this is going to have a really great neutral farmhouse vibe, so I'm really hoping it'll be something that our teaching friends get excited about. And remember earlier, friends, we had attached and glued down our mounting brackets, so those are nice and dry at this point. And just so you can understand my vision for this wreath, I'm going to place this sign in the center a little bit up towards the top, because I've decided to add my bougie bow down here at the lower level. And so at this point, friends, your wreath base doesn't have a top or bottom, so you can really place your sign how you would wish. Just make sure if you're adding a lower central bow, such as myself, that you've got a set of ties smack in the center below your sign. That's really all you need to worry about at this point. So to attach the sign down, friends, I'm going to use a heavy gauge floral wire stem. They come pre-cut in a package like you see here. There's probably 100, if not more, in this package. Super handy for adding in signs to a dense wreath. I will leave a link for these below and a website so that you can find those if you'd like to add them to your wreath making kit and toolbox. They're 18 inches in length, and I just like to fold them in half, friends, into a loose V, just for the purposes of finding that central point. So once you've got that folded into a V, go ahead and run that into your mounting bracket, and then just give it a loose twist or two just to keep that guy from getting squirrely. And we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. Because this is a heavier gauge, friends, it's just going to poke right through our mesh on our wreath so that we can attach this guy down. You'll have to do one at a time. To attach your sign to your wreath base, you're going to run those floral wires right through your deco mesh over to the back side of your wreath, and then take your wires and run them around the inner and the middle 2 rings. Give them a nice tight twist once you have it centered and in place. Then grab your wire snips and trim off those loose bits of wire. Lastly, grab your needle nose pliers, tighten those ends up a bit, and curl them back in underneath the wreath base so that you're not getting poked when you handle your wreath. All right, friends. Our sign is looking good. I'm just sticking my hands underneath the sign to make sure that those ties on the deco mesh were pointing outwards and didn't get trapped underneath. And then I'm going to take my glue gun and just run a small bit of glue over that floral wire on both rungs, right where the wreath frame wire meets the floral wire, just to give it some extra stability. We'll give that a couple of minutes to dry. And friends, if you're not familiar with hot glue, you can always tell when your glue is dry. When it's still hot, it is clear, and as it dries, it turns a milky opaque color. So just wait until it gets that nice milky color, and then we'll flip it over and move on to the next step. Go ahead and flip that guy over. It is looking great, friends, looking great. Remember, we made sure we had a set of ties right underneath our sign to add a bow. Friends, I made my bow ahead of time off of camera just to save some time on this video. If you, however, would like a step-by-step tutorial on how to make a bow, I'll make sure I leave a couple of tutorials for you in the description of this video below so that you've got that as a resource. Just remember, whatever ribbons you choose, make sure that they've got wire. They're wired ribbon. All right, friends, so here's what my bow looks like that I had made ahead of time off of camera. It's just a neutrals, lots of the burlap and black. One of the ribbons has welcome. We've curled some, there's some glitter in there, and I have dovetailed all the ends. This is a dovetail. And let me show you real quickly, friends, how to dovetail your ribbon. All you need to do, friends, is fold your ribbon in half. Then grab your scissors and coming down on the folded side, not the open side, come down about 1/2 to 3/4 inch, cutting it up on the diagonal towards the opposing corner. And then when you open it, you'll have this pretty dovetail. So I'm going to go ahead and add my bow in. We won't fluff it yet. Just make sure when you're adding your bow in, friends, that your tails are going in the right direction. There we go. And you're just going to give it a couple of 2 or 3 tight twists just to hold your bow in place. And then you can trim off your tie ends here or just tuck them under, whatever your preference is. I actually do both. So I've trimmed off that excess, and now I'm just going to fold that guy down. There we go. Now, again, I'm not going to fluff these until we're done. Basically, I want to do some other things before we move on to that step. All right, friends, last but not least, we need to make some tails for our wreath. So go ahead and sit your wreath off to the side here so that we can take a few minutes and make our ribbon tails. We've already used 1 set of ties for our bow, so that leaves us 17 ties remaining. And so we're going to cut an equal number of the 1.5 inch ribbon. We're just going to add 1 tail per set of ties. I want to keep this a little bit more simplistic. So we'll cut 9 tails of one and 8 tails of another. And we're going to cut those tails at 12 inches in length. So an easy way to do that, friends, is grab your scissors. Go ahead and measure out 12 inches. Mark it with your finger. And then we're going to fold it onto itself. And remember, we need 9 of one and 8 of the other. So we'll just do 9 of this and kind of in a zigzag pattern. Like an accordion style, I guess, is better. I'm just going to keep folding it over onto itself at the same length until you've got 9 pieces. So there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then you'll cut that ribbon off because you've got your 9 tails that you need. Now watch the magic, friends. We folded this in half at the proper length in an accordion style. Make sure that they're nice and lined up on the ends. Grab a good pair of sharp scissors. I'm going to cut these ends on the diagonal. So I'm just going to come down about 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4, and cut up on the diagonal like so. Don't let go of your ribbon stack. Come to the other end and do the exact same thing. Make sure it's all nice and neat. Grab your scissors, come down 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, cut up on the diagonal. And what you've just done there, friends, let me show you the magic. You've cut all of your ribbon tails at the exact same time and trimmed your ends. So that's a super quick way to make your tails. We'll just set those off to the side and do the exact same thing for the next ribbon choice. And again, this is 1.5 inch, friends. Go ahead and grab your wreath and we'll start adding our tails in, friends. I usually add 2 tails per set of ties, but I wanted to keep this more simplistic with the farmhouse vibe and really let the sign and the bow be the focal point. So all we're going to do at this point, friends, is add 1 tail to every single set of ties. And so to do that, you're just going to eyeball your single piece of ribbon to find the middle, or you can fold it in half to identify that center point. Then in that middle, just kind of give it a pinch, fold it over your thumb so it's a loose V, and find your next set of ties. Place that ribbon tail all the way down to the base. Give it 2 or 3 tight twists because this is the last piece that we're going to add into the set of ties here. And then take your snips, trim off that excess bit of ties. You won't need those. And then just take your fingers, friends, and pinch those together and just kind of tuck them down under. I just poke them down under. And then I fluff my ribbon tails, and by fluff, I just curl them between my fingers and pull them away from the center of the wreath so it's in a loose V. We're going to do that all through our wreath here, friends. Add 1 tail per set of ties on both the upper and lower level. Trim off the remaining bits of your ties and then curl them down under. And then I'll meet you back here. All right, friends, now we've got all of our tails added into our wreath. And we've got one more step, well, actually 2, before our creation is finished. So I want you to grab your favorite floral greenery. This is actually a long, viney bit of greenery from Hobby Lobby. Florals can most definitely be the most expensive part of any wreath decoration, friends. So make sure you're always grabbing your florals when they're on sale. Hobby Lobby has all of their florals on sale every other week without fail. They used to be 50% off. Now they are 40, I'm sorry to tell you. But at any rate, this is one of my favorite bits of greenery. I think it's a really complimentary look for farmhouse things. And so what I'm going to do, friends, is just cut off each individual piece of greenery stem from this vine until I have 16 or 17 of them. So kind of keep count as you go. And then I'll meet you back here. All right, friends, I've got 16 pieces. We'll start with that, cut from the greenery bits. And as you can see, they're just about a ring finger's length. So just a couple of inches. Let's see, it's right under 3. And basically we're going to add 1 greenery piece to every set of ties on both the upper and the lower level, but not the bow. So all we're going to do, friends, is right where those ties were at that we've just added a ribbon tail. Take your glue gun and run just a small dollop of glue right on the end of that piece, maybe not even a 1/4 inch in length. And then just take that greenery bit and stick it right down where that tie was. Hold it for about 10 seconds. Leave it undisturbed and then move on to the next. And again, we're going to add 1 greenery bit to every single space where we've got a ribbon tail or where your ties were at. All right, friends, take some time to get your greenery bits added in, and then I'll meet you back here. All right, friends, we have added our greenery bits to every single set of ties. They'll be firmly dry in just a few hours or so. And so the last thing that we need to do, friends, is fluff out our bow, and then our creation is finished. So to fluff out the bow, I've got 4 loops of this tan and black striped. So I always start my fluff at the bottom. And basically I'm just going to stick my fingers right into those loops and just kind of move my fingers around to give those loops some depth and dimension. So that basically they're forming an X. Like so. Then we'll move on to the next layer up, which is this tan welcome ribbon. There are just 2 loops. So we're going to make a line straight across so that those loops are running in between the tan and black striped loops. And then we move on to our 1.5 inch ribbon, the tan and black check. I'm going to open those up, make them into an X. We're basically just going to fluff until our heart's content here, friends. And then we'll take the tan 1.5 inch, which has 2 loops, and put them straight across. You can see the pattern I'm following here. And last but not least, the little bitty black button in the center, I'm just fluffing with my fingers. So cute. And now I'm just going to take my fingers and run them over the tails, friends. And if you need to trim your tails when you're finished, by all means do so. I'm going to leave mine a little bit lengthy. You can jerk them around and move them where you want. I don't normally like my tails to hang below my wreath, but because this is on the bottom, I'm just going to go ahead and leave them just for some extra whimsy. And there we have it, friends. We are all finished. I hope you enjoyed this wreath making tutorial. And again, if you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you've not done so already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks, friends. Happy crafting.